A convoy of luxurious black SUVs screeched to a stop right in front of a weak, dirty, barefoot man sitting by the roadside. Chantal, elegant, polished, and dressed in a crisp ivory suit, stepped out, her heels clicking like authority on marble. She looked at him gently. "Young man, can you work in company? I knew accommodation and better life. Staying on the street like this is not ideal," but what the man said next shook the whole street. He stood up slowly, dusted his torn shirt, looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Madam, if you want to help me, fine, but marry me first. Then I'll work for you." People screamed. A trader shouted, "Jesus, is this man okay?" Chantal blinked, once, twice, confused. Was this boldness, madness, or something deeper? Besties, buckle up. This is not just a story. This is a revelation. The full story begins now. Lagos wasn't planning any drama that afternoon. The sun was misbehaving as usual, burning everybody equally, rich, poor, and confused. Danfo drivers were honking like they were competing for Noisemaker of the Year. A hawker ran after a bus shouting pure water, cold like heartbreak. Then life picked the worst possible moment to start a movie. Inside a black Lexus SUV parked in front of Urban Bites restaurant sat Chantal Williams, beautiful, classy, heartbroken like 10 Nollywood episodes combined. She was eating grilled chicken alone in her car, windows up, AC blasting, pretending she didn't care about men ever again. After all, her last boyfriend used her birthday money to lodge with another girl in Lekki Phase 1. Since then, she told everyone, "Mebeg, they're like Nipa." Unreliable and always disappointing. Her driver, Edward, sat in the front seat scrolling his phone, minding his business like a grown man who didn't want trouble. Everything was peaceful until Chantal's eyes caught movement outside. Not just any movement, a man. A man sitting barefoot under a struggling almond tree, clothes dusty, hair rough, beard scattered like, "Life has been dragging me." He looked about 32, but the kind of 32 that had seen things, deep things. He sat quietly, staring at the ground, like someone telling God, "If embarrassment was part of the plan, you should have warned me early." Chantal blinked. Edward blinked. The grilled chicken froze midair. "Edward, pause that engine," Chantal whispered. Edward turned. "Madam, what happened? You see ghost?" She pointed outside. "Be honest. Do you see what I'm seeing?" Edward leaned forward, squinting. "Ah, that man! He looks like Nigeria used him as experiment," Chantal hissed. "Let's go." She opened the car door and stepped out, heels clicking, perfume announcing, "Rich woman approaching." People turned to look. Of course they did. Chantal had a presence that could silence market women. She walked straight to the barefoot man. He didn't even look up at first. His shoulders were slumped like all his problems were debating inside him. "Hello," she said softly. "Are you all right?" He looked up, and Chantal's heart suddenly forgot its suffering. The man's face was handsome, the annoying type of handsome that doesn't ask for permission. But his eyes, tired, deep, calm, like someone who had lost too much but refused to break. He swallowed hard. Please, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten. Anything you can give before I collapse here." His voice wasn't weak, it was humble, and that humility pierced right through her chest. Chantal stared, confused. His English was too neat, his posture too gentle, his spirit too peaceful. This wasn't the usual roadside struggler, but hey, life is unpredictable. Lagos has taught her never to assume. Edward already came out of the car with a takeaway food box and cold water. "Madam, should I give him this one?" "Yes," she said, waving impatiently. Then to the man, "What's your name?" He hesitated like he almost said something else, then replied quietly, "Daniel Brooks." "Daniel," she said, handing him the food, "eat before hunger embarrasses you further." No forming, just eat. Daniel laughed, that soft, embarrassed laugh of someone trying to hide pain. "Thank you. I really appreciate it." The small crowd nearby started whispering, "Fine man like this. See his life humble am." "Is he acting film? Or heartbreak finish am?" Chantal ignored them. Daniel opened the food and took a bite with the kind of gratitude that made her chest tighten. Something about this man didn't make sense, but she felt drawn to him. like her spirit recognized something her brain hadn't caught yet. As she watched him eat, a strange feeling washed over her, warm, confusing, unexpected. A whisper in her heart said, "This is not the last time you will see this man." She hissed and scratched her head, because for now, Daniel was just a hungry, barefoot stranger under the hot Nigerian sun, and she was just a woman who swore she was done with men. But surprisingly, her heart did that tiny uncomfortable twist. She wasn't sure if it was concern or curiosity or the Lagos spirit of, "let me see gist." Whatever it was, she couldn't stop staring as she was busy pressing her laptop in the car, pretending not to know what was happening outside. The man slowly walked away with tired, dragging steps. Not drunk, not sick, just defeated. Something deep inside her chest whispered, "Follow him." Her brain shouted, "For what? Are you jobless?" But her feet didn't ask for permission. She stepped out of the car and started following him, quiet but determined. Edward, her driver, followed her with his eyes, confused. "Madam, you forgot something?" Chantal waved him off. "If I tell you what I'm seeing, you'll think I'm mad." She walked past the restaurant into the cool night air, her expensive heels clicking softly like they were announcing her class to the whole neighborhood. She kept her distance, but she followed him. Because something about him, something she couldn't explain, something that felt both wrong and right at the same time, pulled her forward. The man walked toward an old, abandoned mechanic yard. Rusted cars sat there like ghosts of past accidents. The place smelled of engine oil, dust, and disappointment. He approached one particular car, an old brown Peugeot 504 that looked like it was surviving on pure stubbornness. He opened the creaky door with a gentleness that shocked her. He stepped inside, leaned back, stretched out like it was home, and exhaled deeply, the tired kind of exhale that carried secrets. Chantal stood a few feet away, watching silently. She wasn't pitying him, not yet. She was studying him. Why did he move like someone who used to be somebody? Why did he lie down like he was used to soft beds but now settling for rust? Why did his eyes carry pain mixed with dignity? She stepped closer, closer, until she was standing right beside the old car. Then she tapped lightly on the metal door. Tock, tock. The man jerked, startled, sitting up quickly. "Sorry!" Chantal lifted both hands in surrender. "I didn't mean to scare you." He stared at her, confused and a little guarded. "You owed me?" he asked, voice low but calm, English to his appearance. "Yes," Chantal admitted softly. The truth fell from her mouth before she could coat it with ego. I needed to see if you were okay." He didn't panic. He didn't beg. He didn't behave like someone trying to manipulate sympathy. He just looked at her the same way he looked at the sky, tired, honest, unfiltered. "Why?" he asked. Chantal hesitated, because even she didn't understand what she was doing. "I saw you walking down the road and I wonder where to," she said eventually. "And something just didn't add up. You don't look like someone meant to be sleeping in a mechanic yard." The man let out a small, dry laugh. Life doesn't always follow plan. His voice carried pain, but not the pity-seeking kind. The pain of someone who had swallowed too much pride and was now chewing courage. She stepped even closer. "Daniel Brooks. My name is Chantal." A moment of silence hung between them, heavy, strange, magnetic. "Look," she said gently, "if you need help, food, a place to rest, I can get you something. No strings, no judgment." Daniel raised a calm hand. "Thank you," he said softly. "But I'm not asking for money or pity. I just need to breathe, that's all." Chantal blinked, surprised. Most men would have used that chance to request new clothes, new phone, new life. But this man, he just wanted air. She looked around at his car home. A thin cloth folded like a pillow, a bottle of water tucked in the corner, nothing else. Her heart squeezed. "Daniel, how long have you been staying here?" he shrugged. "A while." "Where's your family?" Another shrug, somewhere between memories and mistakes. His answer landed on her heart like a heavy stone. Something in her chest cracked open, something she thought had died with her last heartbreak. Empathy, connection, curiosity. She stepped closer. "Daniel, can I sit?" He hesitated, then nodded. She lowered herself carefully onto the car door frame. Her perfume filled the air. His exhaustion filled the silence. For the first time since she walked out of the restaurant, she finally realized the truth. She wasn't following him because of pity. She was following him because fate had grabbed her by the wig and dragged her forward. and she wasn't ready for what this night was about to change. Back her mansion. Chantal Williams did not sleep that night. Her house was quiet, too quiet. The AC hummed like a prayer. The chandelier glowed softly. Her silk duvet felt like clouds, but her mind refused to rest. She kept seeing him. Daniel, that barefoot stranger with a face carved from hardship and dignity. The man who spoke like someone who used to own a life before life owned him. She knew she should have minded her business, but since heartbreak entered her life, minding her business has been malfunctioning. Meanwhile, across town, in that dusty mechanic graveyard, Daniel sat on the bonnet of the old Peugeot, eating the takeaway meal she had insisted Edward buy for him before driving off. Jollof rice, chicken, cold water. He ate slowly, like someone who didn't want to offend the food. He wasn't desperate, he wasn't ashamed, he was simply grateful. When he finished, he whispered to himself, "Nice woman, very stubborn, but nice." He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and leaned back against the car, staring at the sky like he was negotiating peace with the universe. He didn't know she was still thinking about him. He didn't know she wasn't done. Because fate wasn't done with the two of them, not even close. The next morning, Chantal walked into the kitchen wearing a long robe and a face that screamed 0 hours of sleep. Her chef, Mr. Felix, greeted her with excitement. "Good morning, ma. Should I make your usual?" "Felix," she cut him off, raising one finger. "If you bring scrambled eggs near me, I will sack you and rehire you just to sack you again." "Okay, ma," he whispered, stepping back like he saw fire. She dropped onto a stool, chin in her palm, eyes distant. Edward, the loyal driver, walked in cautiously. "Madam, are you okay?" "Do I look okay?" she snapped. "No, ma." Correct answer. Edward stood awkwardly, glancing at her like a man waiting for a bomb to go off. Finally he spoke. "Is it about that man from yesterday?" Her eyes lifted sharply. The way she looked at him, Edward instantly regretted being born. "Which man?" she asked slowly. "The one you followed, ma." Chantal inhaled deeply. "Edward." "Yes, ma?" "Drive. To where, ma?" Her voice dropped to a whisper, but full of that dangerous determination only heartbreak victims understand. "To that mechanic yard." Edward blinked. "Twice. You want to see him again?" "No," she snapped. "Yes," she whispered. "Edward, just drive before I lose my mind." He didn't ask further. By the time they arrived, the sun was low, early morning breeze still fresh. The yard was quiet. Daniel was there, sitting cross-legged beside the car, fixing a broken phone screen with the gentleness of a surgeon and the concentration of someone who didn't want problems. Chantal's breath got stuck somewhere between her chest and her ego. He looked tired, hungry, but weirdly handsome. Not fine boy handsome, experience handsome, the kind of face that carried stories. She stepped out of the car before Edward could come around to open the door. Daniel looked up. When he saw her walking towards him, he frowned slightly, not rudely, just confused. "You again?" Chantal paused. Something hot and embarrassing rolled up her throat. "Yes, me again. Sorry, She paused, regrouped, flipped her hair. "I came to check on you." Daniel stared at her quietly. The silence dragged for a moment too long. Finally he spoke. "You shouldn't be here." That annoyed her small. She folded her arms. "And why not?" He wiped his hands with a torn cloth. "Because women like you don't come to places like this twice." Ouch, Chantal blinked, pretending it didn't sting. "Well, maybe I'm different." Daniel smiled faintly, not mocking, just knowing. "No, you're not." She almost choked. The audacity. Her heart screamed, "Slap him." Her dignity whispered, "Behave. Don't disgrace your father's name." Her curiosity said, "Sit down. Sit down immediately." So she sat, right on the bonnet of the dusty car, crossing her legs like the queen of mechanic yards. Daniel blinked in shock. "You're not serious," he muttered. "Oh, I'm very serious," she said, dusting imaginary dirt from her dress. "Talk to me." He looked away, refusing to give her the satisfaction. "Daniel," she said softly, but the softness held weight. "I know pain when I see it. I've felt it too. I'm not trying to insult you or treat you like charity. I'm just trying to understand." He exhaled long and deep, like her words touched a place he had locked. He stood up slowly, leaning against the car, arms folded. "You want to understand?" His voice was calm, tired, but honest. "Fine." He pointed to the car. "This is where I sleep." He pointed to the yard. "This whole place is my neighborhood." He tapped his chest. "And this," he said quietly, "is a man trying to rebuild his life from zero." Chantal's throat tightened, but she didn't pity him. He wouldn't accept pity anyway. Instead, she leaned forward. What happened? Daniel hesitated, and for the first time, he lied. Not a full lie, not a wicked lie, a protective lie, because his real identity was too risky. I made a bad investment, he said simply. Everything collapsed. Long story short, I lost my business, lost my house, lost people I trusted. Her chest softened. And now, she whispered, and now I'm just trying to survive without begging anybody. Something in her heart melted like hot suya. She admired that, even envied it. She took a small breath. Daniel, I can help you. He looked sharply at her. She repeated. No, he said firmly. You don't owe me anything. You already gave me food yesterday. You gave me food twice. That's enough. Her eyes widened. In Lagos? A man refusing help? Was he normal? Daniel, she said, voice trembling slightly. Breeze danced gently around them as they sat on the bonnet of Chantal's SUV. Daniel barefoot and calm like someone who had seen rain, sun, thunder and still survived. Chantal polished and glowing like Lagos nightlight. They talked and talked and talked. At first awkwardly, then freely, then like two people who had known each other in another lifetime. They joked about Lagos traffic, they roasted deeper, they argued about who invented heartbreak. Chantal laughed the kind of laughter she hadn't laughed in years, the one that made her hold her stomach and slap Daniel on the shoulder like old friends. And Daniel, he smiled so much he forgot his problems for a moment. At some point they went quiet, comfortable silence, two damaged strangers breathing the same night air. Then Chantal shifted slightly, looked at him, really looked at him. His rough beard, his tired eyes, his quiet strength. Daniel, she said softly. He hummed in response. Let me give you a second chance at life. Daniel slowly turned to look at her, surprised. I mean it, she continued, voice trembling a little. Come work for me. I own a company, a big one. I can give you training, a place to stay, an official car. You don't have to sleep in that broken Peugeot ever again. Daniel froze, completely still. Chantal leaned forward. Please, don't say no. Daniel looked away, up, to the sky, to the moon, to the distant clouds that didn't care about human pain. He stayed silent for so long, Chantal felt her heart doing jumping jacks. Finally, in a low, cracked voice, he said, Life has beaten me like I stole something. It taught me not to trust anybody. People smile at you in the morning and stab you before lunch. My life scattered because I trusted the wrong people. Chantal swallowed. Daniel, she whispered. He didn't look at her. He just breathed deeply, like someone carrying invisible weight. Then Chantal placed her hand gently on his arm. Trust me, she said. Just this once. Let me help you. He turned slowly, meeting her eyes, their faces closed, their breaths mingling, the night suddenly too quiet. Daniel's heartbeat pounded. He stared deeply into her eyes that weren't pretending, eyes that weren't judging, eyes that had their own hidden pain. Then he shook his head. No, he said softly. Chantal felt her chest drop. Her lips parted, shocked. Why? She whispered. Daniel exhaled, then said, I'll only accept your help on one condition. Chantal blinked. Which is? She asked carefully. Daniel's voice dropped to a low, steady whisper. Chantal, marry me. The wind stopped. Even Edward inside the car felt something shift in the universe. Chantal's mouth flew open. Her brain scattered, her heart confused, her soul asking God what was happening. Excuse me? She stammered. Daniel didn't flinch, didn't smile, didn't blink. I said marry me, he repeated, as calm as someone asking for pure water. From the moment I saw you at that restaurant, the way you handled yourself, the way you spoke, the way your eyes softened when you looked at me, I knew you were different. Chantal's head screamed. This man has lost his mind. Me? Marry who? Barefoot Daniel? Is this destiny or madness? God, is this a test? She opened her mouth to answer, but nothing came out. Her voice refused, her brain refused, her emotions were rioting. Daniel waited, calm as midnight water, watching her, giving her space, letting her process the biggest bombshell of her adult life. Her heartbeat pounded so loud she was sure even the mosquitoes could hear it. Finally, Daniel! She breathed, trembling. You can't be serious. He leaned closer, eyes deep and honest. I'm very serious. Silence fell like God pressed the mute button. Chantal stared at Daniel. Daniel stared at Chantal. Even the breeze paused like, Abby, make I go? This one no concern me? Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out. Then panic. pure, undiluted panic. Her heart started galloping like a horse escaping village masquerade. She stood abruptly. Nope, nope, absolutely not. You're joking. You must be joking. Where is camera? Is it a prank? Who sent you? Edward! Start the car! Daniel didn't move. He just watched her with that calm, slow-blinking expression that men who have suffered life usually have. Chantal paced like a confused cat. Marry you? She whispered, clutching her expensive wig like it might fly off. But you're Daniel! You are barefoot! Daniel looked down at his dusty feet and shrugged. I can buy slippers. Ah! So that's your response? Slippers? I am talking about marriage! She took a step back, another step, another. Her heels almost snapped from the pressure of her confusion. Look, Daniel, she said, pointing at him like a schoolteacher disciplining a stubborn child. You don't just propose to a woman you met a few hours ago. That's what kidnappers do. That's what people who want American visa do. It is not normal. He stood up slowly, not threatening, just solid, grounded, real. Chantal, he said quietly, I didn't say it to scare you. I said it because it is the truth. Her eyes widened even more. Oh my God, he's serious. He's actually serious. Jesus, take the wheel. Edward, start the engine. But Daniel stepped closer, carefully. I know you're scared, he said, voice soft, but everything about you today felt real. Like I've known you longer than a few hours. Chantal froze, her breathing slowed, because, unfortunately, she had been thinking the same thing. Just minutes ago, they had laughed like two idiots, joked about jollof versus fried rice, mocked Nipa's wickedness, teased each other like secondary school classmates. And for the first time in years, Chantal had felt normal. Not Chantal Williams, the billionaire CEO, not Chantal the heartbreak survivor, not Chantal the woman who had been used and dumped by men who only wanted her wealth. Just Chantal, a woman sitting beside a man who saw her, not her money, not her reputation, not her beauty, just her. The memory of their laughter hit her chest gently, then heavily. His smile as he told his ridiculous story about fighting a goat. The sound of her own laughter, her real laughter, echoing in the air. Her panic slowed. She looked at Daniel, really looked at him, his rough beard, his tired but honest eyes, his vulnerable posture, like a man with nothing to offer but himself. Her heart whispered something her brain wasn't ready to accept. He's real. Not flashy, not fake, not shiny packaging, just real. And she had forgotten what real felt like. Daniel watched her quietly, giving her space. Chantal, he said softly, I'm not asking you to marry me today. I'm saying, if I'm going to depend on someone, give someone my life again, it has to be someone I can trust. And somehow, don't ask me how, you feel like that person. Her breath hitched. She felt something heavy but warm in her chest. It scared her. It comforted her. It confused her. She stepped closer without realizing. She lifted her eyes to him. And then, as if the time was waiting for the perfect moment, something unexpected happened. A sudden gust of wind blew her hair straight into Daniel's face. Full sweep! They both froze. Chantal's wig slapped him like it had beef with his ancestors. Daniel blinked rapidly, choking on hair. Chantal gasped, mortified. Then they burst into laughter. Loud, chaotic, ridiculous, honest. The kind of laughter that breaks walls and melts fear. Chantal held her stomach, wheezing. Daniel bent over, laughing like someone who hadn't laughed in years. And in that stupid, hilarious moment, Chantal saw it. Saw him. Not a dirty man. Not a stranger, not a burden, but a man with a heart still alive despite everything life had tried to kill in him. A man who made her laugh. A man she wasn't scared to be herself around. A man who didn't want her money. A man! A real man. A man she could, maybe, trust. For the first time, she forced herself to see Daniel in a new light, and it terrified her, but it also warmed her. Slowly she whispered, Daniel, let's talk about this. And Daniel lifted his head, smiling softly. That smile, the kind that reaches the heart, Chantal felt her world shift. The wind calmed. The world became still. And Chantal Williams, billionaire, beauty, heartbreak survivor, ice queen of Lagos, stood in front of a barefoot stranger who had somehow, in less than one night, cracked open the part of her heart she thought was dead. Her chest rose and fell. Her fingers trembled. Her eyes held a war. Daniel watched her quietly, not rushing her, not pressuring her. He just stood, still, steady, vulnerable, waiting. The world seemed to balance on a pin. Chantal inhaled deeply, once, twice. Her voice came out small at first. Daniel. He lifted his eyes, searching her face. Chantal swallowed hard, her heart slamming against her ribs. Every heartbreak she had ever endured flashed through her mind. Men who used her, men who lied, men who pretended, men who saw her money first and her soul last. And then this man. Barefoot, dusty, not a Kobo to his name, not that she knew. But honest, real, kind. Her voice broke slightly. "Daniel," she repeated, steadier this time. "Yes," he whispered. She looked him straight in the eyes, the way people do when they're about to do something outrageous, stupid, brave, or all three combined. Then she said it, softly first, then louder, then firmly. "Yes." Daniel froze, totally, like statue-level frozen. His eyes widened slightly. "Yes, what?" he asked, almost too quietly. Chantal's lips trembled. "Yes, I'll marry you." The words left her mouth, hung in the air, and boom, even the night felt it. Daniel staggered a step back, as if someone had pushed him. "What? Chantal? You're serious?" he stammered. Chantal nodded, her eyes glistening with emotions she didn't bother hiding. "I don't know why," she whispered honestly. "I don't know how, but today, with you, I felt something I haven't felt in years." She pressed a hand to her chest. Peace, laughter, honesty, normal. Her voice wavered again. "And I trust you, Daniel, more than I've trusted anyone in a long time." Daniel blinked rapidly, overwhelmed. "You want to marry a man you met just yesterday?" he asked, almost whispering in disbelief. Chantal let out a short, shaky laugh. "Stranger or not, you've been more real with me in one night than all the men who pretended to love me for years." She took a slow step forward, then another. Daniel stood still, watching her like he wasn't sure whether to breathe or faint. Chantal's voice dropped to a tender whisper as she placed her palm gently on his chest. "Yes, Daniel, I'll marry you." And that was when Daniel finally reacted. Not with a kiss, not with a dramatic Hollywood embrace. No, Daniel did something uniquely Nigerian. He screamed, "Oh, Jesus! Is this how destiny works?" He staggered backward, held his head like a man counting invisible blessings. "This kind of thing only happens in prophetic movies." Chantal burst into laughter, shaking her head. But suddenly Daniel stopped, inhaled deeply and looked at her. Really looked at her. His voice dropped to a softer tone. "You don't know what this means to me." Chantal stepped closer again. "And you don't know what you mean to me." Their eyes locked. Something electric. Something deep. Something wild and shocking and calm at the same time. A slow smile stretched across Daniel's face, the gentle kind that could melt a frozen heart. He reached out and held her hand. Not tightly, not forcefully, just sincerely. "Chantal Williams," he said quietly, "you just changed my life." Chantal's eyes softened. "Daniel, maybe we just changed each other's." The wind picked up again as if applauding. The night hummed. Their hands remained locked, two souls from opposite worlds, finally stepping into something neither expected. Something foolish, something scary, something beautiful, something real. And just like that, the yes that should never have happened, happened. That same night, after the emotional whirlwind had finally settled a little, Chantal suddenly clapped her hands and said, "Daniel, enter the car." He blinked. "Car? Where are we going?" She folded her arms dramatically. "To be my husband, you must look like my husband. We're going shopping immediately." Daniel burst into laughter so loud Chantal almost blushed. "Ah, Chantal, after everything. You still said yes to me while I'm dressed like a stranded carpenter, and now you're suddenly forming fashion police?" Chantal rolled her eyes, but her lips betrayed her. They were fighting a smile. "Just enter the car before I change my mind." Daniel raised his hands in surrender. "Yes, ma'am. Future madam wife, I'm coming," she hissed playfully. "Better." At the mall. Chantal moved with military precision straight to men's clothing. "Pick that shirt and that jacket. No, not that one. Are you planning to attend a village meeting? Drop it." Daniel kept laughing. "This woman will finish my destiny." She shoved another shirt into his arms. "Good. Your destiny needs finishing." By the time they were done, Daniel had enough clothes to start a new life and a new identity. That night, Chantal booked him a room in a classy hotel. "For now," she said softly, "until we figure out everything." Daniel nodded, touched. He took the longest, warmest bath he had long enjoyed. When he stepped out, wearing fresh clothes that actually fit him, he felt human again. He looked at himself in the mirror and whispered, "Is this really me?" He nodded and smiled. When he finally walked into the hotel lounge to meet Chantal, she looked up and froze. Her breath did a small somersault. Daniel stood there looking like a completely different man. Clean, sharp, confident, his hair combed, his clothes perfect. Even his smile had upgraded. Chantal felt her cheeks warming. She quickly looked away, but too late. Daniel caught it. He leaned slightly forward. "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Chantal cleared her throat. What are you seeing exactly? That you're trying to hide that smile." She lost. The smile burst out. "Daniel, you're handsome." He grinned like a happy teenager. "And you are blushing." Chantal gasped. "No, I'm not." "Yes, you are." "No, I am not." He laughed. She giggled. For a moment they weren't CEO and stranger, just two humans meeting somewhere in the middle. After the teasing faded, Daniel suddenly turned serious, but in a warm way. "Chantal." "Yes? We need to have dinner tomorrow, you and me. A proper one." Chantal tilted her head, pretending to think. Let me check my schedule." "Chantal." She burst into laughter. "Relax. Yes, Daniel, tomorrow is fine." They smiled at each other again, that gentle, shy, can't believe this is happening kind of smile. And somewhere deep inside both of them, something new had already begun to grow. The next evening, Chantal arrived at the rooftop restaurant exactly on time, calm on the outside, but her heart was beating like a drummer testing microphone. The place was beautiful. Soft lights, gentle music, the kind of location where people said yes without thinking twice. Daniel stood waiting for her, wearing a simple but classy black shirt. Not too expensive looking, but not cheap either. Just enough to confuse a woman's destiny. When Chantal sat down, she smiled and whispered, "You look good." Daniel smirked. "Only good? After all your investment?" She threw a napkin at him and they both burst into laughter. They ordered food, they talked, they joked. Chantal felt relaxed in a way she hadn't felt in years. For once, a man was listening, not pretending, not rehearsing lines, just being. And then, like Nollywood producers pressed enter, everything scattered, the elevator dinged, three men stepped out in crisp designer suits, the type you only saw on billionaires or politicians' sons. Charles didn't know them, but she instantly felt tension. Daniel saw them and froze for half a second before muttering, "Oh Lord, not today." They spotted him immediately. "Daniel!" one of them shouted. The whole restaurant turned. The men marched toward him like soldiers returning to their general. Before Daniel could even fake smile, one of them hugged him forcefully. "My guy! Daniel Lawson!" "Omo, this one where you disappear for months we think say, 'Nah, America, you go hide!'" Chantal narrowed her eyes. "Daniel who?" The second man laughed. "Madam, you don't know? Daniel Lawson, the hidden billionaire of Oak Ridge, the silent owner of Lawson Group, the real money behind half the companies in this city?" The third man dropped the ultimate bomb. "He richer past your favourite billionaire." "Those are influencers compared to Daniel." The restaurant went silent. People whispered. Heads turned. Chantal blinked once, twice. "Wait, Daniel Lawson?" She repeated slowly like her brain was buffering. Daniel rubbed his forehead. "Guys, can we not do this here?" But it was too late. Chantal looked at him like he had just shapeshifted into a dragon. "You? A billionaire? Dressed like a half-baked beggar? Sleeping in the mechanic yard? No, I can't believe this." Daniel sighed and gently held her hand. "I wanted to be seen, not my money." Silence. Her heart, cut small, repaired and cut again. Before she could fully react, Daniel stood up, knelt down, and pulled out a diamond ring so bright the waiter gasped. People screamed. Phones came out. Even the pianist started playing romantic music without instruction. Daniel's voice was soft. "Chantal, you saw me when I had nothing. At least you believed I had nothing. And for the first time in my life, someone laughed with me genuinely. No motives, no calculation. I don't want to lose that. Will you marry me properly this time?" Chantal covered her face. She cried. She laughed. She shook her head, then nodded, then shouted, "Yes, Daniel! Oh my God! Yes!" The restaurant erupted. Claps, cheers, strangers hugging strangers. One old woman even shouted, "God punish heartbreak! Love Don win!" 2 months later, nothing prepared the city. It was everywhere online. Billionaire Daniel Lawson marries mystery woman. Their wedding is richer than some countries. The venue? A glass cathedral by the sea, flowers imported from 5 different countries, security tighter than presidential events. Chantal walked down the aisle looking like a dream. Daniel waited, smiling like he just discovered oxygen. They exchanged vows, they kissed. Crowds screamed like concert. It was the wedding of the year, no, the decade. And all Chantal could think as they held hands was, God, how did a barefoot stranger become my husband? If people thought the wedding was the peak, social media proved them wrong. By the next morning, everywhere was shaking like generator with low fuel. On Twitter, hot topic was, the barefoot man at Urban Bites restaurant is Daniel Lawson? Comments went wild. One lady wrote, God punish poverty. I saw that in that day. He asked me for water. I told him, shift abeg, now see my life. Another said, I hissed and walked past him. I thought he was one of those motivational beggars. Omo, my village people really held meeting. A third cried, I said, get out of my front that day. Me we don't attend 8 singles conference. Now see Chantal. God, am I not a flower too? The gist spread so fast, even radio stations started doing analysis like election results. Everybody was shouting, marry kindness, marry character, see as Chantal cash out. And honestly, Chantal was cashing out. Emotionally, spiritually, financially, physically, romantically, every alley you could think of. Their home was peaceful. It felt like God himself pressed reset on both their hearts. Daniel, despite his wealth, still acted like that humble man from the roadside, laughing loudly, teasing her, cooking nonsense recipes just to make her shout. One night he made spaghetti that tasted like revenge. Chantal took one bite and said, Daniel, who did you offend? Because this food is punishing me for something I didn't do. Daniel burst into laughter. You will still eat it. My wife must know suffering. They chased each other around the house like teenagers. Even the staff used to giggle. Their love was real. Warm, silly, private, beautiful. Chantal sometimes stared at him and whispered, God really compensated me. And Daniel, he worshipped the ground she walked on. Not because she married him thinking he was poor, but because she saw him first as human, not money. 2 months into their honeymoon stage, Chantal fainted in the living room. Daniel screamed like Wi-Fi disconnected during Champions League. He carried her to the hospital like she was made of gold. The doctor came out smiling. Mr. Lawson, congratulations, your wife is pregnant. Daniel blinked, then blinked again, then said, Doctor, pregnant? Or Nigerian auntie's pregnant? As in, you look fresh? The doctor laughed. Sir, she is 3 weeks pregnant. Daniel shouted, Edward, buy suya, buy ice cream, buy everything. I'm going to be a father. Even Edward wiped his eyes dramatically. When Chantal woke up, Daniel hugged her so tight she almost lost breath. Chantal, you have turned me into a father. Me, the barefoot man, she laughed. You? Father? You that still drinks Capri Sun secretly? They laughed until her stomach hurt. From then on, Daniel treated her like an egg. No, like government property. He wouldn't even let her open bottled water by herself. Daniel, give me the remote. No, sit down. The baby must not stress. Daniel, pass me my slippers. No, I'll carry you to the bathroom. Their home was full of laughter, teasing, and that kind of joy money could never buy. Months passed. Chantal's baby bump grew. Their love grew deeper. Their home grew warmer. And every time Daniel looked at her, he remembered the woman who didn't mock him, didn't ignore him, didn't judge him, the woman who saw his heart before his wealth. And every time Chantal looked at Daniel, she remembered that her laugh like a child again. The man who chose humility over pride, love over games, and truth over packaging. Together they built a life full of peace, love, humour, and plenty food. And sometimes when they walked into that same restaurant where everything started, people whispered, "Ah, see love, see destiny." True love. No deception, because truly, love finds you, even if you're barefoot. Hello, beloved viewers. Thank you so much for watching this powerful and emotional story. Moral lessons. Sometimes the people we look down on are carrying the greatest blessings. Love is not about appearance or status. Real love starts with kindness and a pure heart. Never judge a person by their condition. You don't know the story behind their eyes. And finally, destiny will always locate you, even in the most unexpected moments. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share and subscribe. Drop a comment in your own language. Tell me your favorite part and let me know the next story you want me to create for you. I love you all, besties. See you in the next episode.